My name is Amelia. I was 18 years old when this happened. It was early summer, when my parents sent me to spend the holidays at my grandmother's home, in a quiet little town outside London. I was thrilled. I loved my cousins, the laughter, the smell of fresh bread from my grand's kitchen, and the endless chatter during family dinners. That week, we were gathered for a wedding. The house was alive, filled with music, the scent of flowers, and the excitement of celebration. The rooms were glowing with lights, and the garden looked magical under the fairy strings. I remember feeling so happy, so safe. I had no idea what the night ahead would bring. As the evening arrived, everyone was busy. Women cooking, men talking, children playing in the garden. I joined my younger cousins outside, chasing each other under the warm sun. My grandmother sat by the porch, smiling, watching us play. When the wedding songs began, the house came alive even more. My cousins clapped to the beat. The bride glowed in her red gown, and the air was filled with laughter. My aunt told me I looked grown up in my new dress. I smiled shyly, feeling special. By midnight, the party ended. The children fell asleep. The house went quiet. My grandmother told me to rest early, because the next day would be another long celebration. She said softly, "Amelia, love, you can sleep in the guest room tonight. It's peaceful there." I nodded, kissed her goodnight, and went to the small guest room. It was tidy and calm. The window opened slightly to let in the summer breeze. I changed into my nightdress, lay down, and closed my eyes, still hearing faint music from the distance. The world felt safe, but the night had other plans. I woke suddenly. The sound of the door creaking open made my eyes snap wide. At first, I thought it was Gran checking on me. I whispered, "Gran, is that you?" No answer, only silence. Then, a shadow moved near the door. My heart began to race. It wasn't my grandmother. It was one of the older boys from the wedding, a distant cousin who often visited with his parents. He stepped inside, closing the door softly behind him. I sat up, clutching my blanket. He smiled, but it wasn't a kind smile. He whispered, "Don't be scared, Amelia. I just want to talk." Something about his voice made me freeze. I said firmly, "You should leave. It's late." He took another step forward. My chest tightened with fear. My hands trembled, but I found my voice again. "If you come closer, I'll scream. Everyone will wake up." He stopped for a moment, his face dark, unreadable. The air felt heavy. Then finally he turned around and left the room. The door clicked shut. I sat there in silence, shaking, tears running down my cheeks. Every sound, the wind, the dogs outside, the floorboards, made me jump. That night felt endless. I waited for the morning light, counting the seconds until sunrise. When the morning finally came, I thought it was over, but I was wrong. The worst part had only just begun. Sometimes, silence is louder than any scream, and fear follows you even in daylight. When the morning light touched the curtains, I finally felt I could breathe again. The birds sang outside, and voices filled the house. Laughter, chatter, clinking cups of tea. Everything looked normal, but inside me, I was shaking. I walked to the kitchen where everyone sat for breakfast. He was there, the same boy. He smiled and joked with my uncles, as if nothing had happened. I froze. I couldn't look at him, but I could feel his eyes following me. My grandmother offered me toast, and asked, "Did you sleep well, darling?" I nodded weakly. "Yes, Gran," but the lie felt heavy in my throat. That day, the house was full again. Songs, colors, laughter. But I couldn't join in. My body was there, but my mind was trapped in the dark room from last night. Every time I heard a door open, my heart raced. Every time I saw him walk by, I felt cold inside. That evening, I sat quietly in the garden, watching my little cousins play. One of them, a girl of about 9, ran to me holding her doll. She smiled brightly and said, "Play with me, Amelia." Her innocence broke my heart. I looked at her and thought, what if he ever tries to hurt her? That thought made my hands shake. I couldn't keep quiet anymore. That night, when everyone slept, I opened my notebook and began to write. I wrote about the sound of the door, the fear, the shadow. I wrote about my tears, about how small I felt. Every word hurt, but each line gave me a little bit of strength. When I finished, I hid the notebook under my pillow and tried to sleep. My heart still raced, but I whispered to myself, one day, they'll know the truth. The next morning, my mother came to wake me. She picked up my pillow and found the notebook. I froze. She opened it slowly and began to read. Her eyes widened with every word. She looked at me, tears forming. "Amelia, did you write this?" she whispered. I couldn't speak. I just nodded, tears streaming down my face. My mother dropped the notebook, pulled me into her arms, and said softly, "Oh, my sweet girl, why didn't you tell me?" I cried harder. "I was scared, Mum. I thought no one would believe me." She stroked my hair and said, "I believe you, always. You did nothing wrong." At that moment, I finally felt safe, truly safe, for the first time since that night. But I didn't know that by the evening, my father would find out too, and when he did, everything in the house would change. That night, my father's anger filled the house, and when he called that boy's name, the entire family went silent. Sometimes, one voice can change everything, especially when it refuses to stay silent any longer. That evening, I heard my parents talking in the next room. My mother's voice was calm but heavy, and my father's voice was full of fire. Then suddenly I heard my name. "Amelia, come here." I stepped inside. My father's eyes were red with anger, his hands trembling. He said in a low voice, "Is it true, my child?" I nodded slowly. Tears ran down his face. He turned to my mother and said, "He's family, but he's a monster." I had never seen my father so broken and so strong at the same time. He looked at me and said, "You did nothing wrong. You were brave to speak." That night, he called my grandmother and told her everything. She cried loudly saying, "How could this happen in my house?" I heard her pain through the walls. The next day, my father gathered everyone in the courtyard. The wedding music stopped. The laughter faded. He shouted the boy's name. When he came forward, my father pointed straight at him. "You tried to harm my daughter," he said, his voice shaking with rage. Everyone froze. The boy's face turned pale. At first, he denied it. He said I was lying. But when my father's voice grew louder and the truth echoed through the walls, the boy lowered his head and whispered, "I'm sorry." The entire house fell silent. My grandmother cried. My mother held my hand tightly. My father said firmly, "Sorry will not erase what you did. The police will know the truth." That evening my father went to the police station. He reported everything. He said, "The shame is not ours. It is his." Those words stayed with me forever. Days later, the officers came. They spoke to my father, my mother, and then to me. My voice shook as I told them what happened. But my father held my hand and said, "Don't be afraid. Truth is stronger than fear." Weeks passed. Some relatives begged my father to stay quiet, saying, "Don't go to court. It will ruin the family's name." But my father said, "The family is not ruined by truth. It's ruined by silence." Those words made me proud to be his daughter. When the day of the hearing came, I was terrified. I saw him again, pale, silent, no longer smiling. He couldn't even look at me. The judge listened as I spoke. For the first time, my voice didn't shake. I was no longer the frightened girl from that night. I was a survivor, a fighter. The boy was punished. Justice was slow, but it came. I didn't feel joy, only peace. I had spoken my truth, and that was enough. Now I'm older. The fear still lives somewhere inside me, but it no longer controls me. I've learned something powerful. Silence protects the wrong person, not the right one. And courage grows when we speak. When I see young girls smile, carefree and innocent, I think of what I went through, and I whisper to myself, never again will I stay quiet. Call to action. For your channel, Whispers of Love. If my story touched your heart, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Whispers of Love. Annie, every story we tell carries a message of hope, of healing, and of courage. Your support helps us give voice to those who are still afraid to speak. Together, we can remind the world, silence protects them, but speaking protects you.